Another edition of No Frills, No Shills, and this time question coming in from an old client of mine in Australia. They've been in lockdown as well, and the question was kind of relating to whilst they were in lockdown, but their gyms have now started to open again, but it was basically how long can you perform a certain exercise before you need to change it up. And the answer I've given, or I will give, is that you really don't have to change exercises all that often at all. If you are still making progress with a particular exercise, then there is no, why change it? It's working, it's doing its function, its job, and you'll know that by tracking your progressions as you go. Now, obviously with the lockdown and people training from home and limited equipment available to them, you know, their amount of options available are then much more limited compared to when they have access to a full-on fitness gym facility. Now, with myself, you know, as an example, if I think back to my prep for bodybuilding show in 2017, my coach at the time had me on the same the same 3 days worth of training, rotated through every week. So some workouts will be hit 3 times a week, some just twice. But I rotated through those same 3 workouts for 18 weeks, making progressions every week before we changed the plan. And we only changed the plan because of my mental fatigue from being on the same plan for so long, rather than the fact that the exercises had stopped progressing and plateaued. I was still making progress on those exercises. And there are various ways that you can intensify and carry on progressing the exercises or the same exercise. There are also various ways that you can potentially get to what seems like a plateau, but then use something to get over that plateau and then still carry on progressing for several more weeks to come. Again, so with that prep in mind, one of my examples, I had incline dumbbell chest press, and I was getting up to something like 28 reps for a set with the 30 kilo dumbbells. And it got to the point where I hit 30 reps, the next week I had to make 31 or more reps, and I couldn't beat the reps. So the following week I increased the amount of weight to 35 kilos. So I've progressed that. I hit less reps, and then the following week I dropped back to the original 30 kilos and I hit 32 reps. Then the following week I hit 34 reps. So all it needed was a little jolt to the system for a bit of additional neurological stimulus, and all of a sudden that supposed plateau was broken again. So you can continue progressing exercises for, again, as long as they are, you know, working for you. You know, with myself again now, since my ankle surgery, Coach Lil has given me some exercises to do, you know, through the 3 programs 3 training days she's programmed for me. And I haven't actually done some of the variations she's after, because it's been very hard for me to move the weights around the gym on my own and set up things with my ankle as it is. So instead, I've kept pretty much the same exercise movement pattern and just varied that movement itself to create additional variation. So this the last 3 weeks of the plan, I have performed chest supported incline dumbbell rows on my Monday, Wednesday and Friday session. I've kept the same weight throughout, but I've changed little parts of the exercise. So on Monday I perform the row and I hold for 2 seconds before coming down again. I perform 10 reps. As the weeks have gone by, I've kept the weight the same. So I don't have to keep chopping and changing dumbbells through the session. And I've kept the pause the same, and I've increased the volume. So I've gone up to 12 reps. Or this week, I've kept with 12 reps, but I've reduced my rest break in between. So the intensity has still increased and I've made progress. On my Wednesday session, the same movement pattern, but this time single arm row each time. Okay? And I've not rested the dumbbells on the floor at the end of each row. I've kept them hanging so my grip is under tension for longer. And once more, my reps at the start were maybe 8 or 10, and as the weeks have gone by, I've progressed to 10, 12. I've also reduced the rest breaks I was taking in between sets. So again, I've made progress both on volume and I've made progress on the intensity side with reduced rest breaks. My Friday session, I've gone back to the same movement as the Monday, but I've taken out the pause and I've just gone for more reps. So week 1 was 12 reps, week 2 was I think about 14 reps, and this week I've hit 16 reps. So again, the weight is the same, the movement pattern is the same, but I've increased one of the variables being the amount of volume, so I've hit more reps, and once more I've also reduced the amount of rest break needed before I can return and do the same work again. So same movement pattern, tiny changes to how that movement pattern is implemented, and different ways on which you can progress it. Time under tension, overall volume, rest break in terms of increasing your intensity, and the actual weight I've kept the same, but that's something else you could change if you have that available to you as well. So there are various ways that you can perform the same movement over and over and over again without needing to change, still keep making progress, especially with your options being limited to you. I also remember back when I first started out in my strength kind of training phase, I ran the Jim Wendler 531 template for almost 18 months, still making progress week on week, month on month, a few variations here and there of certain movements, but essentially I squatted, deadlifted, bench pressed, overhead pressed and chin-ups for nearly 18 months. That was the bulk of my training, and that's still very much the bulk of my training these days. Squat, deadlift, bench press, overhead press, and a pulling movement like chin-ups or rows. That is really all you need. Take away all the fluff and the frills and the boredom aspect, and you really don't need anything more than that, providing you can still make progress. So, there we have it. Any more questions, drop me a message and I'll do my best to get it up for you. Other than that, until next time, cheers.